It's a pleasure to welcome you all to the first summit of Conventus 2025, the annual management conclave of IMI Delhi. We are pleased to welcome our respected faculty members, distinguished guests, alumni, and all attendees who've joined us for this session. It's great to see so many eager minds come together to learn, share, and exchange ideas. Conventus brings together speakers and students who are eager to share ideas, challenge perspectives, and learn from one another. It's a space filled with curiosity, conversation, and fresh ways of looking at leadership. The theme for this year's conclave is When the Next Generation Guides the Boardroom. We have a short video created by our team that beautifully captures the essence of our theme.
Restless yet rooted, bold yet balanced, not waiting for a seat at the table, but redefining the very room at large.
As boardrooms evolve and the sidelines become the stage, we find ourselves at a pivotal point where lines between hierarchy and harmony blur, and wisdom finds its echo in youth.
Learnings from history, hope for the present, and dream for the future. They have it all.
A nation has come of age, and at Conventus 2025, we are writing its story. Here, courage is the currency and ideas are influence. So let's join hands to welcome the emerging dawn, to anticipate, shape, and embrace the change that will define our future.
The Center for Women's Leadership at IMI Delhi was set up with one simple vision to empower and inspire women to lead with purpose and confidence. It's about building a space where ideas grow, voices are valued, and collaboration leads to real change. Through mentorship, research, and shared experiences, the center focuses on turning inclusion into action. The summit continues that journey, celebrating women who don't just take a seat at the table, but shape the conversations that matter.
This session is hosted by the Center for Women's Leadership. Our sub-theme, Breaking Barriers from Token Representation to Strategic Leadership Dominance, captures the essence of progress we continue to strive for. And now, let's dive into another exciting video that showcases our sub-theme for panel discussion. This marks a new era where women are driving conversations, shaping strategy, and setting new standards for growth, inclusion, and meaningful change.
To guide today's discussion, we're delighted to introduce our moderator, Professor Mamta Mohapatra, Professor of OB and HR, IMI Delhi, and Chairperson of the Center for Women's Leadership. With over 25 years of experience in teaching, research, training, and consulting across PSUs, private organizations, and government bodies, she has trained over 10,000 participants globally. A certified HR competency assessor and an LP practitioner, she had also received specialized training from Harvard Business School. I would like to invite Mamta ma'am and Swati K, Secretary, Center for Women's Leadership, to felicitate ma'am. Thank you, ma'am, for joining us and leading this important conversation. We are honored to host a distinguished panel of leaders who truly embody this year's theme of breaking barriers and building influence. Please join me in welcoming our esteemed speakers for this summit. Mr. Aman Chandra, Executive Stress and Anxiety Relief Coach, founder of Bulletproofing Happiness Coachings. Mr. Chandra, an alumnus of IMI Delhi, helps high performers achieve excellence by effectively managing stress and anxiety. His signature trademarked Bulletproofing Happiness framework, a battle-tested methodology born from his personal victory over high-stakes anxiety, has been proven on over 10,000 individuals to eliminate the effects of stress and anxiety, ensuring their performance remains unstoppable. Now, I would request Mamta ma'am to extend a warm welcome to Mr. Aman with a small token of appreciation. We are delighted to have you, sir. We are also delighted to have Ms. Aanchal Nijavan Chandra, Senior Manager at World Resources Institute.
We would like to welcome Ms. Diksha Khera, founder of the Power Pivot. Ms. Diksha Khera is a seasoned leadership coach, NLP practitioner, and founder of the Power Pivot. She has led impactful programs across organizations like LinkedIn, Accenture, and with clients such as Amazon, Flipkart, and many others. Through the Power Pivot, she strives to work towards enabling women to navigate career transitions, reclaim their voice, and lead from within. Now, I would request Mamta ma'am to extend a warm welcome to Ms. Diksha with a token of appreciation. We welcome you, ma'am. We would like to welcome Ms. Neha Khatri, co-founder of Alice. Ms. Neha Khatri is the co-founder of Alice, a women-first wealth management platform launched to help women take control of their finances and invest with confidence. She is also actively involved in her family's real estate business, Savannah, a long-standing real estate developer in NCR, where she oversees select development projects. Now, I would request Mamta ma'am to extend a warm welcome to Ms. Neha with a small token of appreciation. We look forward to hearing your insights, ma'am.
We would like to welcome Ms. Sonia Nikor, business partner and COO at Strategies to Scale. A dynamic women leader, Ms. Sonia Nikor is a partner at Strategies to Scale, where she leads operations and business strategy with insight and vision. An economics postgraduate, she began her journey researching with Dr. Ishar J. Aluwalia, later pursuing a B.Ed and exploring roles in education and sales. From heading a play school to managing business functions, her journey reflects adaptability and purpose. Her calm leadership and practical wisdom make her a truly inspiring panelist. Now, I would like to request Mamta ma'am to extend a warm welcome to Ms. Sonia with a small token of appreciation. We are honored to have you here, ma'am. We are also delighted to have Mr. Sanjeev Nikor, Program Chair at School of Inspired Leadership.
An academician as well now.
We would like to welcome Ms. Vibha Prabhakar, Chief Experience Officer at Shriram Automall. Ms. Vibha Sareen Prabhakar is a digital transformation expert with over 20 years of global experience across India, the US, UK, Europe, and the Middle East. As Chief Experience Officer, she specializes in customer value creation, marketing innovation, and CX strategy. A TEDx speaker and mentor, she is passionate about fostering people-centric growth and cultures of excellence through innovation and digital transformation. Now I would like to request Mamta ma'am to extend a warm welcome to Ms. Vibha with a small token of appreciation. It's a pleasure to have you as today, ma'am. I now hand over the proceedings to Mamta ma'am.
Okay, a very good morning, ladies and gentlemen. I was just thinking, why gentlemen and not gentle ladies? Have you thought about it? That's ladies are already gentle, so you need not add that adjective, okay? Yeah. Anyways, we can interpret in our own ways. So, very privileged and very happy to be moderating the first session of the summit. So, big round of applause for the summit. Conventus. So, I have to ensure that we can't see them, so they are, alert. Okay. So, be ready to keep on clapping. So, let's welcome this very, inspiring panel. So the theme, as you saw in the video, I think it was very well captured that the dynamics, in terms of demography, there's a huge shift now. So we see very young people taking on the leadership mantle, and here we see many entrepreneurs also represented who are already, leaders and CEOs. So, the broad framework being how do we encourage, younger people, and I see a hall full of people who are, aspiring to shape the boardrooms. Are you? That was a feeble yes. A louder yes. Yes, ma'am. So, in 10, 12, 15 years' time, all of you would be, aspiring to become, a representative of the C-suite. Yes, no? Yes, ma'am. So, it's wonderful to be sitting here and discussing how the dynamics are changing and how young people are, preparing themselves to take up this mantle. I'll start off with a very nice quote that I came across by Maya Angelou, who says that I'm privileged to be born a woman. I must have done something good in my previous lives. I'm asking the young women here, do you agree to this statement? Yes, of course. We have traversed a long way, but then the journey ahead is full of challenges, because today we might, when we were discussing back there, we said that people do not recognize females as a CEO, as a, surgeon. So we are used to, so somebody said, I think Sneha said, it's the optics. So optics meaning we don't see women up there. And why so? I'll talk about a few data points to drive my point. So it says that only 12% of C-suite roles in corporate India are held by women. Only 12%. As of March 24, women held just 19% of board positions in listed companies. Although SEBI has mandated that 1/3 of the directors should be women, and that law has been passed since 2012 or 13, I think. And still we don't see them. And there was a research saying that we don't find eligible women. So we are going to talk about the leadership pipeline and all those things, but here's data which supports it. So women representation in senior leadership, that is manager and director level, increased in from 2016 it was 17%. In 23 it became 19, a 3% increase. But sadly there's a dip of 1% in 2024. Any guesses as to why a dip? Women representation in senior leadership? Any guesses? Post-COVID? Okay, we'll discuss about this. But it's sad. So, and another data point is at entry level in the workforce, women representation is 31%, entry level. But when it comes to C-suite, we see that it's only about 12 or 13%. So what's happening in between? So we'll spend some time discussing as to why women are not up there. So to start off with, I think we'd love to hear from each one of you, how has been your personal journey and what the next generation of leadership means to each one of you. So a big round of applause for the panelists. I think since we are addressing Gen Z, it's always good to involve them. That's what I've read, and I feel that they always want to be involved. So you could, ask them, or maybe I can start off by asking each one of you, like the journey that you have traversed, a one-liner or a one word, saying that how has it been till now, the journey so far. So, and you could support this data, but we'll get into a deeper conversation through the question. So the way we have planned it is initial reactions we'll have from each one of them, and post which I'll ask a pointed question to one of the panelists so that we get into the depth of the issue or the challenge, and then a closing by all of them. Of course, all of you are free to pitch in if you have a insight or a story to share in between. So we start off by, I don't know who's going to take the lead. Any one of you? Vibha, you want to? Yeah. How has been your journey so far, in a word or as a woman leader?
So a very good morning, everyone, and thank you for having me. So one word, it's very difficult, but I would say at the top of the hat, an amazing roller coaster
Wow.
that I've thoroughly enjoyed.
Roller coaster.
Yeah.
And we can imagine.
But I've
Yeah.
totally enjoyed the ride, and we'll talk more when we reach there. So I'll pass on the
Okay, with
mic.
ups and downs.
Yes.
Interesting.
Good morning. Thank you for having me. I'm a misfit here because I belong to the other generation. My
Why a
daughter,
misfit?
my daughter is the one who was supposed to be here, and I'm filling her very tall shoes. But nonetheless, my journey is where her journey starts off, where mine ends. And mine was full of hurdles. I wanted to take the roller coaster word from here. But why I'm saying hurdles is because of the social and the biological impact of being a woman. And I feel that I have been the support, and I've got my daughter to be where I always wanted to be. So hurdles, but positively dealt.
Hi everyone. Thanks for taking out the time to sort of like speak to us. I think for me, I'd measure my journey in context of my grandmother. Like I look at it as like progress has been made from the past. I don't look at it progress from the utopia. I'd always look at white women and American standards of progress, and I'd be so disappointed like I'm nowhere. And now increasingly I'm looking at it from the past and I'm like, oh my god, my dadi was like an agriculturalist and here I am sitting and speaking to you all. So I feel very proud of that we've come a long way. Of course, there's a long way to go, but I feel happy and content that we've traversed that journey.
Wonderful.
Hi everyone, morning. A louder, cheerful morning would definitely help my enthusiasm. Thank you so much. A little bit about my journey and how I look at it, and that's actually a very interesting way to start the day. I think when I think about my journey, it seems to be more like a maze, where I've just a maze, where I've just meandered through different paths, not knowing what is my North Star. I've just flown along with life, its various challenges, pivoted umpteen number of times, and I think that's what I've really enjoyed about the journey. But I think the one thing that I definitely want to add on to this entire lens is, because this is a room which is fairly well balanced from where I look at it, men and women all in one room, and we're talking gender diversity and representation. I think the one thing that I've learned through my journey is that it never is about men versus women. It's always about men with women. You could reorder this, but the sentiment here is that we're together in this discussion, and only then can we build the truly inclusive world that we're all striving to be in. Yeah, glad to be here with you all. Thank you.
Yeah. Hi, friends. So first of all, it's really nice to be back here. About 15 years ago in this same room, I gave my written test to join this college. So I'm just remembering all those things. I'm not seeing any of you right now. Only those visions are going around. So first, I would like to tell the organizers that they've done a really good job over here for this topic by making me the odd one out in the panel. There are all women here. I'm the only guy here, so that's a great start.
You're lucky to be here because they chose you.
Absolutely. So in my experience, I've been working with dozens of organizations to help them with improving their performance, basically by managing their emotional well-being better. So in my experience, all I would like to share is that these days mental well-being is extremely important. That's across the board, whether you're man, woman, it doesn't matter. And when it comes to women, there are certain specific challenges which require more support, and we'll talk about that later in detail. And my genuine wish is that those things get easily overcome so that we can achieve the goal that the CWL has. And that's it for now. We'll talk more in a bit. Thank you.
Thank you. I think great insights from each one of you. Roller coaster, that was a good way to start off. And maze, so these were one-worders, but then each one of you has explained your journey very well. So let's begin with the Q&A from my side. I would like to ask Vibha first, because she's had such a wonderful journey, across sectors she has worked. And so Vibha, going with the topic for the session, from tokenism to transformation, how do you think organizations, when we think about gender diversity or having more women, uh, now it's a KRA, I believe. So diversity is everybody's KRA now. And you have to hire women, you have to nurture women leaders. So is it just tokenism still, or have we, transformed to giving women that decision making and strategic role? So are they there, or it's just tokenism?
Thank you for the great question and a great start. And this is the day one of this event, so I wish everyone the very best. I think it's a wonderful start with this topic. Back on your question, Doctor. So for me, journey from tokenism to transformation is not about adding numbers and adding the women leaders in the room or the organization. It is all about ensuring that it is working.
You want another one?
Maybe yeah, better. Okay, so it is about ensuring that we are valuing their voices and opinion when they are there in the room or the organization. So when I started my career specifically in the manufacturing and automotive industry, which are predominantly male, I realized that the challenge was not about having more women or a woman on the table, but the challenge was all about ensuring that they are involved in the discussions and the decision making, and they are heard and counted. That is the real challenge. So, the word glass ceiling was coined like almost 40 years back. But we are still struggling, and it is just a number game, right? There should be a 12% representation in the board, or we should hire women at least 30%. So when these discussions actually happen in the real life, it becomes a mere number. I'll share a small story, right? When I walked into a boardroom in my CXO role, my first CXO role in a manufacturing firm, it was full of like 20 men. I was asked, are you from HR? That was the first question. So I smiled and answered back that, no, I'm here to talk about your customer journey and how it impacts your P&L. So that was a game changer. That is the moment where, things shifted a bit and they started hearing me a little more. So it was not that I demanded the respect, but I earned it by ensuring I show that confidence, competence, and share my knowledge, right? So at the end, it is not about being a woman. It is also about the person you are, the knowledge you carry, and how you make a difference and an impact when you walk in that room. So truly, in my view, there are 2-3 things that organizations really need to do to transform and move from that symbolism, representation. The first and the foremost is, shift from appointment to ensuring that they are accountable, right? So we have to place accountability where in the discussions, the empowerment is given to women leaders to make those decisions which impact the compliance and the governance and the strategy and the capital flow of the organization. So representation without responsibility is just optics. Second, we need to really create a pipeline rather than placeholders where we continue to groom the next line of women leaders. It is not about one woman breaking that barrier in an organization, but how she's able to open the door for many others. So constant grooming, constant identification of the next line of women, and investing in a lot of mentorship and sponsorship is very, very important. Last but not the least, it's also about ensuring that we have a complete strategic leadership ecosystem in an organization where hiring women is not just a tick in the box or a compliance metrics. It is about ensuring how they are involved in those decisions and discussions where it impacts the P&L, it impacts the sustainability of the business, and it shows clearly in the increase in engagement within the organization as well as the stakeholders. It is a proven fact that the customer engagement increases, the empathy in the organization increases, there is more customer centricity when women are involved. It's from a long term focused growth effort that women bring in an organization. So uh, if inclusion converts from symbolism, it actually becomes a strategy of an organization. So to conclude on a lighter note, from an auto industry and being an off-roader, I drive myself a Jeep and the Thar. It is not about, not trusting the driver. If you're on a tough terrain, you have to trust the driver. You don't change the driver, right? So it's same for leadership. When you have a woman behind the wheel, you must trust her and not just when she's on a passenger seat.
Wonderful. Really liked the example you gave, trust the driver. So, because it's a stereotype, and all of us know that if it's a woman behind the wheel, then there's a particular reaction at Bapre. But I like the way you connected it to, from tokenism to transformation. And the 3 points that you mentioned, from appointment to accountability. So it's not just tick boxing that, okay, we have achieved our goal of hiring women, but then empowering them so that they are accountable. Then I think you said from pipelines to placeholders. Wonderful way of putting it. So rather than focusing on whether we have a pipeline, actually ensuring that women who are there in those positions, they are enabled, they are empowered, and they affect decision making. And the third one, of course, strategic ecosystem. I think this is where organizations fail mostly. So you hire women, you say that, okay, now we are gender diverse, but then how are these women nurtured within? Do they get the right kind of ecosystem? Ecosystem, we mean not present only in offices, but then back home also. And I think, Vibha, yesterday you mentioned the 3 M's. Would you like to talk about it? Yeah.
Sure. So we were having this pre-briefing session for today's panel discussion, and I shared a term which I've coined myself with my own experience of the past 2 decades. What works for me as a woman leader? How am I able to travel or spend those 12 hours outside work and home? Is with the help of 3 M's in that order. The first M is the mother-in-law, the mother, whosoever supports you at home, whom you can trust completely. Another woman, unfortunately. But anyone who takes care of your child at home, that's like 60-70% of your mind offload. You can focus on what you are doing if things at home and otherwise are taken care of. The second are the maids, all your helpers, cleaners. It's very important to spend that money when you are earning on your support system, because that's how you can have a better quality of life and some me time. So absolutely hats off to maids, and it happens only in India. That's one of the reasons I never moved outside India, although I continued to travel and work, because the kind of support system you get here, you don't get anywhere else. Last but not the least, all the men, your partner, spouse, or your bosses and peers, especially the male fraternity, who support the cause and continue to encourage you.
Wonderful. So trust the driver is my major takeaway. So I would like to address the second question to Sonia. So Sonia, you yourself mentioned that the leadership models are changing, like the way you look at things. So there's a generational shift now, and your daughter is the one who's steering it now. So have you like perceptually or felt that yes, there has been a change in this leadership model. The things, when it comes to operations, is there a significant shift in the way younger generation, handle things from your generation? So let's talk about
Yeah.
these change in leadership models.
Yeah. So thank you for giving me this opportunity. What I'd like to focus today is on the difference between my generation and what the current generation is experiencing. So when we entered the workforce, as Vibha mentioned, unless and until you had the 3 M's supporting you, it was very difficult, and which is where I said the hurdles which came in your way as a career person. And once my daughter asked me this question, that what was it that really held you back? Because maybe she sees me as equal to Sanjeev, but I took a step back at that point in our journey, and I would say I allowed him to take the lead. And she said, so this was the main reason, that there was a lack of support. The care economy was not there, non-existent at our time, and we were dependent on either our mothers or our mother-in-laws. But having said that, my daughter has surpassed that requirement, and she has done a study where she has found that today also women are held back because of the lack of the care economy. We have women contributing to the role, to the GDP. 15 to 17% is contributed by unpaid care work. Women at home who are looking after their children, who are looking after their homes, and who are looking after their elders are not being counted in the national income GDP accounts. And that needs to change, because if we can quantify that, if we can provide a care economy which is part of the GDP, say for example, we have nurses for our seniors, we have maids for our children, then we can add that unpaid work and all those women can come into the workforce. So that is where we need to now give the next thrust for this generation. That should be the thrust. But that's not to say that men don't face these problems. Men also face these problems. These are not only women-centric. There are men who are single who face the same kind of problems. And that, going ahead, is going to be a challenge until and unless we can take policy to actual execution for the care economy. The second point that we have done on as strategies to scale and as Nicor Associates, we have hired women consciously, whether they are women interns or they are more educated women. And we have won an award for hiring 300 women through our journey over the last couple of years. And that, I feel, has set us a pipeline where we can have future leaders. These women have gone on to study at NYU, at Cambridge, at Harvard, and I'm very proud that they have been groomed at our strategies to scale and Nicor Associates ground. The last thing I'd like to say is that I'm very happy that I got that trust, even though it came late in life, where I can partner with my husband in strategies to scale. And that has been possible because one of the M's is with me. There is a man behind you who is supporting you. Mamta ma'am had said something like allowed. And my daughter is very allergic to this word, where men are allowing women. It is not like that. It is that you have to change your mindset. There has to be a social change. You are not allowing that woman. It is her choice and it is her need to be as ambitious and stand out there as a strategic leader. And you're not going to allow her. She has the right to do it. And that's something that we need to constantly drill into our social framework. That's all. Thank you.
Wonderful. I think all of us have heard that behind every successful man, there is a woman. And now things are changing. From what we are hearing is, behind every successful woman, There are 3 M's. Okay, very nicely put, I think, yeah. So, from policy to execution and the 300 women that you have nurtured to become leaders, that's, very not only noteworthy, but I think, and they have, were these women from underprivileged backgrounds or tier 2 cities? Okay, okay. Okay. And once we took them there undergrad in economics.
So they're all undergraduate in economics or related subjects, and we were doing our research at Nicor Associates for gender toolkit that we did for the World Bank, where they were hired, or we were doing other studies for CII, FICCI, Karmanya. They're all government organizations in the development sector. So we hired them for doing the research work, and they all did a fantastic job. They just needed a little guiding hand. And that's how we got our papers out. So I'm really grateful to them, and I'm so happy that each one of them then went on to write their essays for these very good universities and got admitted, which means they had the talent.
Absolutely.
Yeah, it was just about holding hands.
Very commendable. Okay, so thank you, and now we move on to Diksha. Diksha, from the background that you come from, I think you have witnessed leadership firsthand. And we were talking about tokenism, how that needs to transform. And although we have women now in the workforce, maybe somewhere those matrices are not in place where you capture the data as to how they are contributing. So those, quality parameters, I think I've read that wherever you have a woman leader leading the organization or in the board, those organizations do very well. But why are we not mapping, once we hire women, what's the ROI? So maybe you could focus a little bit on, how do we capture because all of us agree that women do much more when they are, and we've seen those TED Talks and, those researches where it says that women take work more seriously, they are more empathetic, they contribute more, would like to, go beyond to not only contribute but make a significant impact. So maybe focus on how do we measure that ROI. Sure.
So thank you for that one. And I think the anchor thought that comes to my mind when I hear that question is, and I'd like to actually start by asking you all a question before I get to respond to that, so that we have everybody involved in what we're discussing. This could be a simple show of hands. How many of us in this room feel that diversity is the right thing to do? Okay, I'm glad. You know what? The unfortunate or fortunate part is that most of us also feel that diversity is being done from a morality standpoint. It just feels like it is the right thing to do. It just activates that moral compass within us where we're like, we should do this. And for as long as we keep looking at diversity, equity, and inclusion as a morality compass, we will be defeating the cause. So the invitation for all of you all as probable future leaders is going to be, let us look at and imagine this landscape of DEI, the buzzword in the industry today, but very, very meaningful. Let us look at it to be a true strategic imperative. It is a business goal. It is a business priority that has to find its way on business reports, in business metrics. So that's the first thing that I wanted to start with. And it actually takes me back to a time when, I think about 4 or 5 years back, I was working with a client. a fairly progressive, when I say progressive on their solutions, a fairly progressive organization in the tech solution space. And I was with their leadership team. And the CXO post the meeting came in and told me, you know what, Diksha, while we're doing so much more on talent, I want you to know that we're growing, we're steady, but we're not innovating. And just when he said this to me, and we looked around that leadership room, we had a room full of people. Most or all of them, in fact, were men. All of them coming from very similar educational backgrounds, very similar pedigrees of institutes, right? They were thinking the same. So obviously, when you have sameness at the top, you will get stability. But the power to innovate, the power to take that calculative risk may just not be what you have signed up for. So when we talk of ROI in this space, I think, and I say this to all clients that I work with, we do not need to make diversity a HR metric. It's not an HR priority. It is a business goal. And if I were to take it a step further, it is a societal goal. Not because it feels right to do, but because that is what can help us get that diversity of decision. Now, taking us back to the same story with the same client, when we looked around and when we observed and we discussed and we got just about 3 people added to that 12-member leadership team from sustainability, from marketing, and from another function. Within a year, they had a new product line. Within a year, they were able to actually innovate on some of their business processes, right? And it meant a tangible difference to their business metric. So this new product began to contribute a substantial amount to their top line. And now we were talking diversity. Because now there was the diversity of thought, and I'm not going to, because I just feel that the moment we begin to box and cluster people, traits, emotions, and we say that because there were more women, maybe there was more empathy, because there were more women, maybe there was another trait. To my mind, we're somewhere breaking the whole purpose of diversity when we start to slot people and traits. So yes, there was that business imperative that was being met purely because the quality of decisions was now richer. It's as simple as that. Now, what gets measured gets done. Do we all agree? Yeah? A louder yes if you agree, and a no if you don't. Yes? Similarly, what gets measured gets done even in this space. Now, how do we measure this? We've spoken enough about women at the top. Some of these conversations actually make me cringe when I'm sitting in the room. Diksha, we've had 20%. We are at a representation of 40%. How do we take this to 50%? And I'm like, we're not looking at the right metrics. So let us take a step back and think about what are the business impact metrics that you're looking at. Are you actually tracking what is the employee turnover for gender diverse teams? Are you actually tracking what is the business productivity looking like for gender diverse teams? Are you tracking what is innovation looking like? Because we're all in business for the numbers. So we need to associate the right things to the right metrics. The second interesting thing that I saw some organizations do is something that they call decision diversity audit. May sound very technical, but very, very simple and basic. They started tracking how many of their core business decisions had how many strategic inputs from different people. Not just gender, but just different people contributing to a decision. And then they started actually measuring the outcomes with those decisions. I mean, McKinsey has published, so many other consulting firms have gone ahead, researched. McKinsey in 2023 said that teams or organizations that have a strong gender balanced leadership representation tend to have at least a 25% jump in their productivity metrics, right? So it is all linked to the quality of decisions that you're making. The third very key imperative in tracking the ROI is looking at the softer aspect of culture. How many of you know about organization culture? There is a culture that you feel, I mean, even IMI would have a culture of its own, right? Wherever people come together, there are shared values, and that's what defines culture. Now, culture is a very difficult thing to track. So I say this with a lot of cognizance and awareness. But within culture, when organizations begin to track the tenet of psychological safety, where people can experiment, they can innovate, they can voice out, they can just raise their hands up and say, I did a mistake, I went wrong. And that seems to be way higher when you have gender balanced teams. And the last pointer on tracking this metric is going to be around communication. Until we keep communicating about diversity as a feel-good initiative, a right to have initiative, we will not be moving the right needles. So it's not really about how many women we have in the room. It's about the decisions, the influence, the change that these women are really able to get to those rooms. And that, my friends, is a shared responsibility for men and women. Thank you.
Very nice. I think completely agree. And the narrative that you built around innovation not happening because you have people from, typically similar backgrounds. So I think research supports this, but this uh, decision diversity audit is a new thing that I heard. So it's, I think we need to go back and look at stats and data to prove that, okay, innovation or the needle is moving because of diverse thinking. So, and you very rightly said that diversity is not a HR goal, but it's a business imperative. And all organizations need to focus on DEI. And for all the reasons that we are discussing now, there's better innovation, there's more productivity, people are happier when they see diverse people around them. And of course, I really liked the line that you said, we are in business for the numbers. So, yeah, thank you so much. Okay, now moving on to Sneha. I think Sneha, we've already touched upon the ecosystem that is so much required for women to thrive and to contribute. So we often see that, when it comes to nurturing women in the workplace, somehow there is this lack of mentorship, lack of role models. So when we look around and we want to, find role models, leaders, we have that Indira Nui, who everybody is following and talking about. We have Sheryl Sandberg. How many of them do we find around us? So you rightly said optics. So what do we do to nurture a pipeline and women leadership?
Right. That's such an interesting point because when I was starting out, I had to join my family business, which was real estate, Haryana. I had to go on the development side. So everybody was just like, नहीं हो पाएगा, right? Like everybody was like कि आप पूरा दिन कैसे खड़े होगे वहाँ पे? The little things that we started doing, like again, representation matters, right? When I started going on the site and I started observing that there were Dalit women and women from lower class backgrounds, they were working with bricks and carrying children like right on the side, right? So that was an important lesson for me that women have always been working. These women have always been working. It's women in corporates now that essentially are sort of managing care work and the business bit both, right? These women have always been doing it, right? They get their children in very hazardous conditions. So what we did was we created a separate space for, you know, the children and on the site. That was again my empathetic lens too, because I was looking at the women working there. I could bring in that. The men just didn't, the men just missed that on the side. They were just like, they were just not noticing it, right? It's the perspective that again women bit, the representation brings. So, and in my experience in working in a corporate, the shift from, I think, middle management again to senior positions, it's in your 30s. You know, right now, when I was younger, I was so aspirational and I saw the dropout happening. So many of my friends who were extremely ambitious, extremely aspirational, in my 30s, I've noticed it's dipping, right? Like they've retired into, and for right reasons, right? They want a personal life. So they want to have kids, they want to, and the ecosystem was not supportive enough, right? Again, not everybody had like great, people had migrated to different cities, so not everybody had a mother-in-law or a mother, or very few were lucky enough, right? So they chose to stay at home, raise kids. And the ones who did have that ecosystem, the support, they made it, or an organizational support. Now there are programs that are coming to support women, you know, to create a crèche within the organization, or to have intermittent hours, right? This system is not really designed for women. This whole 9 to, you know, this whole system of like we need intermittent hours where women can come and go, you know, that flexibility, providing them transportation, providing them, that's when they're very, very happy to do it. And women are very efficient, you know, because they are just like, they're so good at like multitasking. So they create that system with around them, that they're like, ghar bhi sambhal rahe hain, then they're coming to workplace. And so women are extremely efficient at multitasking. It's the organizational support that we need to provide them. Of course, the domestic bit is huge. If you can delegate, like, see, there's also the cost that we forget, that sometimes in order to save some money, for a short period, what women do is women don't delegate care work. Right, women don't hire, like Vibha pointed out very correctly. Women don't hire and pay. You hire and you pay in your middle management, and trust me, it'll reward you in your senior management. Just delegate as much as you can and without guilt. Like, don't have any guilt. Women usually have a lot of guilt that they carry, that, listen, my child is alone, or, you know, that's what, and that's something you have to, that psychological barrier you have to get over, that it's the responsibility of the society. The fertility crisis or the fertility bit is not just my job alone. The world needs more children, right? The society needs more children. So we all need to pool in and help them if we want to solve this problem of like women in like senior leadership positions. Yeah.
Yeah, sure, Diksha.
So because you spoke about building a leadership pipeline which is gender diverse, I just wanted to add, I think, some fantastic points that have already been brought to fore here. You know, what I saw working with some of the corporates were two of these things that really stood out for me. One was sharing anonymized resumes. So there's no identifier on who we are hiring. You know, when you go to a corporate, your resumes are the first step of entry in any selection process. When there are no identifiers, that makes the process bias-free. And we've been talking biases all through. And the second thing that I've seen corporates do is have a gender-balanced scorecard for every role that they're hiring for, which means that if there is a vice president HR that an organization is hiring for, the hiring manager has to interview equal number of men versus women. So it's a fair play. And I just wanted to add those two pointers with respect to what I've seen on ground on building a robust leadership pipelines for corporates.
Very important points, Diksha. But do you see it happening, anonymized CVs? Are they happening?
Yes, there are
Because
some
in
organizations.
theory we are teaching this.
Yes, absolutely. So I will not be able to get into the specifics of names, but for very senior roles, particularly when executive search firms are facilitating the process, there are some firms that follow this as a practice, that the first round of CV shortlisting, resume shortlisting, will happen without identifiers on board. In fact, we at Power Pivot have also very recently ventured into our executive search for women leadership, and that is a practice that we follow
I'm
to
so
the
glad.
T.
Yeah, so glad
Yeah.
it's happening.
Yes.
There's one point I wanted to make
Sure,
here,
sure,
Mamta,
sure,
if I
sure.
may. Going back to the career. So a lot of women are finding it
Returnship.
returnship,
Yeah.
find it difficult to get back to a career. So providing alternative careers to them, maybe not in line with what, because they've already missed that bus in the ability to reach to the top. But if we give them alternative careers which will give them satisfaction, that also is something that we need to provide for.
Absolutely. We did this study for CII last year on this topic only, returnship to work, and we interviewed some women who wanted to come back, but there are huge barriers and they're not hired at the same level. They feel that they have missed out on so much. So it was very interesting doing the study, and we actually, jotted down those points, and we've sent it to the ministry. So for policy advocacy, and like period leave, so there should be some policy around returnship as well. So I hope it fructifies.
And another point, it's not just in corporates. I'm a secretary at the RWA in my society, a very small society of 600 people. We started out with an RWA which was all male for 3 terms. And, there were constant complaints on cleanliness, on, even the cost overruns. With me in the, RWA in this particular term, we hired a number of women to help in operations along with the facility management team. We have a women horticulturalist who has saved us 25 lakhs just by being herself. She loves plants and she looks after the horticulture of the entire condo. Then we have a women's team looking after the cleanliness. We haven't had a complaint since we have been here in the job for the last 1 year. So that's the power of women.
Absolutely.
It's such an interesting topic. Can I add one point as well? So, of course, on hiring, what Diksha said and Sneha said, there's another practice which has really worked that we implemented in one of the organization is till the last round of interviews, if the shortlisted candidates are predominantly males, we wait till we get an equally qualified woman candidate, and we do not go ahead with the final decision unless, let the right person get the right job, irrespective of the gender. But unless there is a shortlisted woman candidate, we don't close that position. And in one of the other organization, we need to experiment a lot as well. If something has not been done before, doesn't mean it cannot be done ever, right? So there was a particular role in, say, an industry where I worked with metal testing and melting. This was gold and silver. So an assayer is someone who melts and tests the metal. And there was no woman ever who did that job in that organization. So I questioned in the boardroom that why we don't have women assayers. So one of the persons said that it's 2 kgs of molten metal. A woman cannot do. What if she gets burned, etc. But it was not convincing enough. So we experimented and we did a pilot. We hired a woman assayer. We trained on the job, and over a period of 1 year, she won the best assayer job in the organization. And then we started hiring more women in that role. So, do a pilot, do experiments, not go by the norm. So storm the norm.
Absolutely. I'm so glad it's happening. And these things we just read, but I hear it from you. And yeah, India is changing. And the hiring practices are changing. So thank you so much. I think Aman is waiting restlessly. Finally, it's his turn. So Aman, we are talking about ecosystems. We are talking about resilience that needs to be built in women so that, they move up that glass staircase, so-called glass staircase. So what would you suggest, or from, your consulting experience, if you could share what are the things that need to be done so that women become more resilient and they're able to overcome the challenges? And so what are organizations doing in terms of providing psychological safety and holistic growth for women?
Thank you. So first of all, thank you for pointing out that I was restless. It brought more attention to the fact that I'm the only one here in this panel. Okay, so jokes aside, I want to first address one question that we've all been talking about having more women in the workforce, helping women go up the ladder. Why should we really do this? Or rather, why should an organization really put some importance on this? So I think Deeksha said some valid points. I'll probably just add on to that one thing. I'm going to start with a small story. So my wife works with a not-for-profit, and last year she was interviewing with them, and they were asking her questions about her experience. And one of the things that came up was she's worked in the DNI part of HR. So she said, I helped my previous organization go from a 16% women workforce to a 25% workforce. And she was like, all beaming with this and looking at him. And he said, so he turned around and he looked at her and he said, okay, good. The percentage over here is 60%. So here's a question for all of you. Apart from being surprised, what do you think it did for her? Who would like to, anybody can volunteer and answer. What did this response make her feel as someone seeking employment with them? Who would like to answer? Anyone. And it'll be a very casual conversation, don't worry. Anybody can answer. Who would like to volunteer for this? Okay, then I'll have to pick one. Okay, do you mind answering what impact do you think it had on her? Yeah, you can if you want. Go for it. Do you need a mic?
I suppose it was like when they said they had 60%, and she was deeming that she moved from 16 to 25%. It made her feel that she was thinking that 25% is the major breakthrough she went. But when a company is already working with 60% workforce, that's not the bare minimum for.
Right, thank you. Okay, here's a long distance high five for you. Thank you for your answer. So one more thing. How do you think she felt with regard to wanting to be a part of such a culture? Can somebody else add on to that? Gentleman over here, like she said earlier, gentleman. Can you?
I think the fact that she would feel good about it, right? She would want to add more women to workforce. I would say.
Make it 100%?
No, I would say you think of a certain target that you want to achieve, and she would increase that. Hearing that.
Okay, so how many of you will agree that the fact that it was a great number over here helped her to almost be sure that this is a safe place to work and it would be that there would be no biases over here? Do you think that contributed to it? Yeah. So then how do you think in general this would act as an attraction for people to apply to this organization? How do you think it would be? Even for men, I mean, at least let's say forward thinking men, how would they feel if they knew that this is how the things were balanced in this organization? Would it help them to be more attracted to such an organization? So what's the benefit to an organization then in that case? Easier to get higher performing talent, lesser churn maybe. So it's a simple no-brainer in that case that if an organization does this, it's not just for morality like Diksha was saying, it's actually gonna help them to save. Easier to attract high talent, so you save, right? So that's the first. This story basically concludes that this is why an organization will actually really benefit from this. Business outcomes, business imperatives like you were talking about, right? So now let's also talk about how an organization can help in psychological safety and holistic growth for women as such. So I'm going to share, if time permits, all three things. I'll try to share maximum with you. These are things based on the research that I have been able to do by working with a lot of organizations purely for their emotional well-being for their employees and to help them to perform at their best. So for the first one, again, I'm going to ask a question. How many of you all over here, so you all are all in, you do your classes? I'm sure you have a lot of group assignments and you have to participate in your class as well. When I was in IMI, I had a professor who used to give special marks for CP, class participation. Does that still exist? Okay, that's a big yes. So people are still awake over here. So how many of you all think twice before answering something in your class? You can raise your hands, I won't bite. Okay, great. So that's a lot of people. So you think twice before answering in your class, right? Okay. So is this a general human tendency to be a little fearful of how you will be evaluated, how you will be judged? Yeah? So there were a lot of men and women over here. So this is a human tendency. It has nothing to do with women, right? Now here's the case. As a default base setting, humans fear being judged. Now there was an example given by Vibha initially, that she walked into a room and normal human tendencies to feel judged, and what happened with her? There was further judgment that you must be from HR only, correct? So what do you think women, what is the conclusion out of this for all of you? What is this first challenge that women experience in organizations? Now people are easily answering. Can you now speak? Fear of judgment, correct? So here's what happens. There's a term for this also. It's called the double bind of gender stereotypes. And I have another term for it, which is called damned if you do, damned if you don't, which means, let's say there's a woman leader, okay? Her team one person has not performed well, and in a team meeting, she spoke to him as in the following way. These are your targets. You have been struggling over here. It would be great if next time you really focused on this and you achieved these targets. Guess what will be the general perception of such a leader? Too lenient. Is not strong enough. And if she had gone the other way, next time you don't do this, there will be serious repercussions. Too bossy. Too aggressive. So for women, it goes higher. I mean, I have so many panelists here. Have you ever observed this?
We call it the double bind biases, like you rightly said. Go this way or that way of the spectrum, you are going to have to deal with it.
So if an organization wants to help women with this, so obviously this is a challenge that causes some amount of stress, and it prevents women from being able to do their work properly, right? So it's a worry. They have a worry over here. So the first thing that an organization needs to do to address this particular point is to create a culture which was spoken about a little bit earlier, where every employee feels free to be able to speak and do and even make mistakes and not feel very easily judged. So this has to start at the most senior level. Now, I'm not trying to praise myself or something. Way before, even when I started my first organization, I've been an entrepreneur now this is the 12th year. Even then, I would tell all my people who are working for me very clearly, I am leading you, I am not Superman. I can make mistakes. How they took it was on them. I was simply trying to help them understand that I also have emotions. Sometimes I will also feel stressed and I'm going to make mistakes. So I didn't realize at that time that I was possibly helping to solve this problem as well. This is something that leaders need to inculcate in their own work. Do you agree? If you all agree, raise your hand. Does this make sense? Yeah? Excellent, great. So find one more thing an organization can do for this. I'm going to draw on something from the Bulletproofing Happiness framework over here. So if they can initiate a company-wide training program where they can help their employees overall to deal with stress, worry, fear by using a concept called the controllables versus non-controllables. So let me let me ask again. In this situation where women have this fear that they might get easily judged, what are some of the things that they can do to overcome this? Any suggestions? Even anybody on the panelist is free to answer. What can they do? Okay, for example, can they try to figure out how to communicate more effectively and neutrally, be assertive and maybe not aggressive, try to find the right balance because it becomes more important for them? Can they do that? If they can do that and you agree, can you raise your hand? Okay. Can women ensure that somebody else's perception of them is under their control? Can they make sure that this happens? No, right? So is one of them a controllable, is another one a non-controllable? So if they can use this framework and help the women to develop this kind of mindset that there are certain things that they can control and things that they cannot control. So there's no point in becoming extra stressed about something that they may not be able to control and simply focus on what they can do and then move on. So that's one example I just wanted to give from the Bulletproofing Happiness Framework. If that can be employed in the training program, that really helps, right? So let me, maybe I'll see if there's enough time left. So let me go with the second point now. Running short? How much time is left? Take a minute. Okay, so then I'll quickly tell you the other 2 points. The second point is she gave a lot of data also about, right? There is, I think, 19% people, 19% women in leadership roles, and when you go to the CXO level, it comes down to about 12% or something, right? So what does this signify? The problem over here is that there is some unconscious bias in helping women go up the ladder and in promoting them, right? So a simple solution for this is, again, building on what the others have said, an organization needs performers. Performers have certain key parameters on which they have to be judged. Now, if you're employing somebody, you only need somebody who can achieve those goals. It doesn't matter who they are. In fact, these days it doesn't even matter if you're not even a human. How many people have seen chief happiness officers as dogs on companies' websites? Right? So I've been in the startup world, so that proves that, if you're fulfilling the goal, then that's all that's required. Right? And the third point, it's probably related to the 3 M's. Women go through something called, there's a higher chance that they go through something in their life which is called having 2 shifts. One work shift in the morning and one work shift in the evening at home. So that's a significant challenge that they have to help them to overcome. And if there was more time, we would have gone into it in more detail. So thank you. Yeah.
Thank you, Aman. And that reminded me something that women work 2 shifts. It's not women only, but during the inauguration of this Center for Women Leadership, we had an inaugural function, and there was a girl in the audience who said, "Ma'am, can I share something?" And then she, while explaining, broke down, saying that after a long day in college, she has to go back home, do all the household chores, starting from dishes to cooking, everything she has to do. And her brother just whiles away time in front of the TV or anything. And while explaining, she broke down.
I have the data on that.
Yeah,
5.6 hours versus half an hour
absolutely.
of care work and housework.
So what are we talking about? Like here we have people from, higher middle class background, most of them would be. And this thing is happening still. So we have a long road to travel, but I think the tips that all of you have shared, the insights are very powerful. I hope, the organizations, you have one last point? Yeah. Okay.
point on how right now is actually a great time for women to sort of come in because it's becoming more and more gender agnostic with technology, right? Now, for example, a lot of organizations are not even hiring humans, like he rightly pointed out. Machines are doing a lot of the work, right? Which gives women an opportunity to add a layer of expertise on top of that because the work is getting more and more, like for example, a lot of the American companies are outsourcing work in India, which serves as a perfect opportunity for women who are, let's say, in tier 2 cities, tier 3 cities, to even like rise up to senior positions from the comfort of their homes, right? So till we can reach, of course, the great standards, that the utopian standards, this is some sort of opportunity that they can take advantage of, learn the newer technologies, for learn the
true.
PNL bit, learn finance, learn skills that will actually benefit the organization to drop down to the rise up to the higher PNL, because ultimately that is what an organization cares about. So you have to learn how to contribute to the PNL in every way possible.
Absolutely, Sneha. Thank you. I think great insights. Big round of applause for the panelists. Very inspiring. Do we have time for a Q&A? Organizers? 1 or 2 questions. Do we have time? Okay. Okay, since they've been listening very patiently, we have room for 1 or 2 questions. Anyone from the audience who would like to ask our panelists? Yes. You give them the mic. Pass on the mic, please. Think Jagriti. You are audible. Go on, go on.
So thank you panelists for the amazing and insightful session, and thank you ma'am. So my question to you is that today the women in business schools like us, what is that one mindset shift that can help us move from being included to being influential?
Being included to being influential. Influencing decision making. Okay. Yes, sure.
Can I ask you why you want to be influential?
To create an impact, to so that people come to know that women can come to leadership positions and they can have confidence in them.
So you want to create an impact. How best can you create an impact?
Like by making strategic decisions and
By doing your best. So the more women do their best, the harder it will be to avoid noticing them. That's one simple strategy. Do you agree? Yeah?
If I could also go ahead. If I could also add on a little something that I've learned along the way from my own journey and the journey of umpteen women that I've seen alongside. I think the one thing that I started to do really late is self-advocating for myself. For some strange reason, call it social conditioning, call it a self-limiting belief, but we feel if we talk about our work, and this is for men and women both, right? I do not want to make it a gender conversation, but more so for women with that added nuance of social conditioning. Advocating for ourselves feels like we're bragging, feels like we're not doing the right thing, which is something that I'd appreciate and encourage all of you all to start doing from now. Build that brand for yourself with the voice that you have, with the thoughts that you have. Use forums, use platforms like these, like a social networking site, like a LinkedIn. Speak to people, and that is how you can make your presence, influence, and impact felt. People want to know, how does one trust? A little homework for everybody. Go back and research what is the trust equation. Okay? I don't know if you've read it academically, but that is something that we do with leaders very often. In the trust equation, your knowledge and your credibility, your reliability and your credibility are very, very important factors. And you can build that for yourself. So that's a little something that I wanted to add.
Very true. Thank you, Vibha.
So I know we are running out of time, but very quickly, what Diksha said, it's the analogy of putting your own oxygen mask first, right? When you are in an airplane and in a crisis. But Very briefly, it's about adding value. So, anywhere where you're able to add value, you will always be able to make that impact, right? So, keep your eyes, ears open, find out avenues, make yourself competent enough and knowledgeable enough that you are able to make a difference in any conversation. You will be automatically noticed. You don't have to work harder.
Sure, sure.
I also think just stay aspirational. Don't let that aspiration drop because it drops. Trust me, like it does drop. Like with care work and you get involved with your family. So women have like double responsibilities. As our parents are aging, that's also usually on women. You know, I am usually having to take care of the children in the family and the parents too. So don't let your aspiration drop. Like, you know, jitne bade dreams you have right now, let them stay the same or even higher. Like keep dreaming. I would really say that keep dreaming.
Great question and great answers. I think we would like to conclude now, unless somebody has a very pressing question. Okay. There's somebody? Yeah, please. I can't see you. Yeah.
Thank you, panelists. It was a very good discussion, and I'm sure we all are taking a lot back home. My question is that I think ma'am mentioned some numbers initially, and I think the reason for those differences is maybe because in some sectors there are women there dominantly, but in others they're not. For example, Sneha ma'am and Viva ma'am would agree with me that in real estate and automobile industry there are not much women. So while choosing a career path, how do you kind of navigate in specific domains which are predominantly male dominated sectors?
I think you're right because women, even within organizations, are usually in HR and in more care roles and in more, you know, supportive roles, right? Again, I would say that it's about aspiration. Like when I was growing up, I wanted to be the prime minister of the country, right? But obviously, like, you know, and slowly, like, they're like, Acha, you want to be a politician? Why? People will try to drill that dream down. Like, you know, they slowly, they'll just tell you that it's too big a dream, right? Like, again, and again, optics. You're not seeing. I only grew up seeing Indra Nooyi. I did not see a local woman. I did not see a woman in my geography, my context, making it so big. My mother, even though she was a teacher, but that's it, right? There were no women on top when I was growing up. So you have to learn from the men. Like I started looking up to my dad. I was like, okay, I want to be like him. Why only look for women, right? Like look for men who can help you. Be like, I want to be like you. But just that I'm a woman, but the skill set is the same, the merit is the same, the hard work is the same. So look for men around you, but don't be scared because it's just a matter of like again competence learning, constant learning. Like just I used to just like visit on the side, just stand there, and the men would talk amongst themselves, and I would be like, I know itne bhige ka ye hai, itna wo hai. Just be there on the side and watch them and learn, just silently. There's this nice example I want to give about this black woman who became one of the richest women in America at some point. That time there was slavery, and she made it because she was working in the household of rich white American women, and she just started hearing what they were talking. And so keep your ears and eyes open even around men. Learn from them as much as you can. Yeah.
Yeah. So to add, it's also very personal as a person, how much you are drawn towards challenges and how curious you are to try new things and experiment, right? So she said almost all of it, but one bit I can add is get those sponsors. You know, you yourself need to be proactive in reaching out to men in particular in such industries if you are very curious to join, and create those sponsors for yourself. They will tell you in those conversations where the gaps are, where the problems are. Become a problem solver, and that's where you'll be able to get involved and do more and add value, because apparently women are able to think beyond the norm and add value and innovate and do well in such roles.
It's a very important question. What's your name? Shreya. Yeah. I'm reminded of something. One of our alums from HR she got appointment in a Haryana tractor manufacturing company, and she was the only female in the office. And she said, "Ma'am, it was so terrible. First, I used to wear clothes of my generation, like people in MBA would wear. Then I thought people are just looking at, staring at me because I'm wearing, Western dresses. Then I started, proper salwar kameez, chunni, and everything, but still it continued. And every day I used to feel so awkward that the minute I walk into office, there are thousands of eyes staring at me. So you have to be like not put yourself in that kind of a situation. So it's a very good question. I think why put yourself in that awkward situation? So it's your call, and you have to be very prudent in choosing the kind of job or the position that you want to in an organization. Very good.
I'd just like
Yeah.
to add
Yeah.
a very quick thing here,
Yeah.
which is that you should go and read up on Sudha Murthy and her experience. And I mean, I totally understand it has to be a pragmatic choice, but someone has to do it. So if you think you have the power to be the one, then what is the norm possibly should not be a limiting factor to what you want to achieve. Yeah.
I just quickly want to add one point to this. It's an extension of the controllables versus non-controllables formula. It's a simple two thing. It's a double A. It's called act and accept. So act means whatever you can do to enhance your abilities to get that, do that. Whatever is out of your control, you need to accept that and make peace with it. So just keep doing whatever you can best and then leave the rest, like the simple saying goes. So good luck.
Okay, it's getting more and more interesting. And,
So
from
act,
both sides.
accept, and change.
Act,
Right? We
accept,
can
and
add the
change.
C to it.
Absolutely. So, thank you for those wonderful insights. I hope we could have continued for some more time because, and this always happens towards the end. It's warming up and we have to close. So, thank you so much for your patient listening and your contribution. Thank you, dear panelists, for your time and the rich insights that you have shared. Thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you to all our speakers for sharing such powerful insights and to our moderator for steering this wonderful conversation. Your words have truly inspired us to look at leadership through a lens of purpose, inclusion, and change. On behalf of the Center for Women's Leadership, we extend our heartfelt gratitude to our esteemed speakers, respected faculty, and everyone who made this session possible. We would now like to invite Mamta ma'am with the token of appreciation. I would like to invite Kanak, Senior Member, Center for Women's Leadership, to kindly come forward and do the honors. I now request Mamta ma'am to kindly felicitate our speakers with a token of gratitude. Yes, Mr. Aman Chandra. Ms. Diksha Khera. Ms. Neha Khatri. Miss Sonia Nikor. Miss Vibha Prabhakar. Next, we would like to invite Swati K and Kanak to hand over a small token of respect from Plum, our sponsor, to appreciate the wonderful women we have with us today. Yes. We would also request Miss Achal Nijavan Chandra to join us for this.
We extend our sincere gratitude to the Student Council of IMI Delhi for their unwavering support, to Sodexo for their valuable assistance, and to IMI Delhi for providing this platform, making this event possible. We extend our heartfelt gratitude to all our esteemed sponsors for their invaluable support in making Conventus 2025, the annual management conclave of IMI Delhi, a grand success. A special thanks to our title sponsor, Bank of Baroda, whose partnership has been instrumental in bringing this event to life. We're equally thankful to our co-sponsor, RPSG, and our Finance Summit sponsor, Indian Bank, for their continued encouragement. Our appreciation also goes to ICICI Bank, banking partner, LIC, insurance partner, HFCL, telecom solutions partner, and STEM Executive Search Private Limited, sustainability partner, for their support in diverse domains. We sincerely thank Key Properties, real estate partner, Phoenix Global, learning partner, Royal Enfield, exploration partner, Vanessa Care, fragrance partner, Plum Loving Body, bath and body care partner, Go Grab, convenience partner, White Heaven, entertainment partner, and Fever FM, media partner, for enriching the experience of Conventus 2025. Your collaboration and trust continue to inspire us to make every edition of Conventus bigger, bolder, and better. And a big thank you to our audience for your energy and enthusiasm. Let's continue to create and celebrate spaces where women lead with vision, courage, and purpose. Thank you for joining us today, and we wish you an engaging continuation of Conventus 2025. We would now like to request all our esteemed speakers, moderator, and the entire CWL team to kindly come forward for a group photograph. We would also like to request ma'am and sir to please come for a photograph. We request our speakers to now join us in the committee room for refreshments.
Please be seated for attendance.